we'll be talking about all the headlines from the nation and across the globe. At the top of this bulletin, we are discussing the tensions over the pristine island. These are the tensions between Maldives and India. After Maldivian President Mohamed Muizzu, in fact, took an indirect jibe for India for bullying his government on Sunday and set a March 15th deadline for India to withdraw its military personnel from the country. The deadline was announced by a senior official, the Muizzu government, on a day the India-Maldives high-level core group held its first meeting in Malé on Sunday. Remember, returning home after a 5-day high-profile state visit to China, Maldives President Mohamed Muizzu on Saturday struck a defiant note saying that his country may be small, but quote-unquote does not give them the license to bully us. We have CNN News 18's Abhishek Jha joining us on the broadcast. Abhishek, a very good morning to you. This is a very crucial statement made by the Maldivian president. He is saying that we are bullying him when he is the one who actually struck the wires and in fact pulled the plug over, the comments that have been made by certain ministers from his party and certain ministers in the Maldives.
Well, Sakshi, we have seen his comments in the past also where it was totally anti-India rhetoric. In fact, his whole politics has been anti-India rhetoric, and we have seen all those pictures where he himself is wearing out India campaign t-shirts. But now Muizzu, ever since he has been in China or he's been back from China, he's more emboldened against India. And that is the reason, because in China he was not only given a grand welcome for 5 days during his 5 days official state visit, with all started with a huge ceremony, 21 gun salute, and official dinner and reception with Xi Jinping. But also about 300 businessmen in Fujian province had a meeting with him where they all expressed interest in developing Maldives, in infrastructure, in housing complexes, in tourism, and in all areas. That has given some sort of hope to the Maldivian president that even without India, they can survive and thrive. Now, coming back to Indian topic, the high-level meeting that was decided during Prime Minister Modi and Muizzu's meeting on the sidelines of COP held a first meeting in Malé, where Indian officials also traveled, and they did discuss all the issues between the two sides. The Indian press release and the Maldivian press release are different in one aspect, where they talk about all the willingness to cooperate on multiple areas. The Indian press release by the Ministry of External Affairs says that they did discuss about how to make them more usable, those Indian naval assets or the personals which are an objection point for Maldives. And Maldivian side has clearly said that they did discuss about the withdrawal of Indian military personnel from the island nation. In fact, one of the media reports also says that 15th March is the date when Maldives wants all the Indian troops withdrawn from the island nation. So this is a bone of contention, and this is going to be the only major issue that is going to ailing the entire India-Maldives bilateral relationship. We'll have to see how does this unfold in the days to come, because the anti-India sentiment in the political dispensation is very much high, and Maldivian president, after coming from China and all the support that the Chinese leadership and Chinese business community has expressed and rallied behind him, he is going to act more against Indian interests in the island nation.
Right, Abhishek, and while we are talking about the relationship between India and Maldives that has taken a serious hit, but I would want your inputs on the relationship that Maldives and China is actually sharing at the moment, because 5 years ago it was India who actually pulled Maldives out of China's debt. And can we say this bonhomie that the president of Maldives and China is currently sharing can make Maldives fall back into Beijing's trap?
Well, the last government of Mohamed Yamin, which survived till 2014, was a very much Chinese, was playing very much in the Chinese hand. We have seen all the Belt and Road initiatives that went in, there, and they had about $1.5 billion or so major projects, which later on became a financial burden for the Maldivian economy. And the Soli government, which came in 2019, riding high on anti-China sentiment, they reviewed many of those projects, calling them white elephant, and they had become a death trap for this island nation. We saw gradually Mohamed Soli moving towards India. A lot of Indian corporation, about hundreds of millions of Indian dollars went from India to the Maldivian economy, especially during COVID, when the pandemic was across the world and nobody was giving vaccine to any country. India did provide them vaccine, all the vaccines through Vaccine Master Project. And after that, to contain the effect of economic downslide in Maldives, because the tourism industry was entirely hit. Indian government also tried to pump in money to keep the economy afloat. We saw that post-COVID, India had become one of the major uh, tourist country, which is going to island nation of Maldives. About 2,200,000 Indians are visiting Maldives every year, and that is a huge incentive for the Maldivian economy because 30% of its GDP is based on the tourism industry. Now, China has assured them they are going to double the number of tourists which are going to be visiting Maldives in the next 2 years. So that is a huge incentive that and assurances that Maldivian president has got from China. Also, he has said that he is going to diversify his medical and pharmaceutical import, which is until now was based on only one country. That was obviously India. So the basic necessity or the essential commodity that the Maldivian side had been largely, dependent on India, this is what Moju's government is going to diversify and have alternative options. And this is how he is going to dealing his dependence on India. This is at least the plan is right now. We'll have to see how the policy and how the practicality of all those anti-India sentiments in Moju's government unfolds in the days to come. Because in Mali, just day before yesterday, we saw the mayoral election in Mali had a pro-government or a candidate from Mohamed Nasheed's party being elected as a mayor of Mali. So that means that it is not that the entire Maldivian population of the country is has become totally anti-India or pro-China. This is just a political rhetoric and a political narrative on which Moizu's entire politics is based. And this is not the sentiment of the people from Maldives. This is just the sentiment from a fragment or a very aggressive political party like the President Muizzu's government, which is currently in dispensation, and that is going to have its shadow on the India Maldives relationship in the days to come.
Definitely, Abhishek, but the kind of statements the Maldivian government is actually making at the moment and the kind of actions they are taking, both of them are quite contradictory to each other if we talk about the nature of it. Because as you said, the Maldivian president actually was riding really high with his election campaign being all about India out. And now since he is president of Maldives, he is at one place saying that India is actually bullying them. But on the other hand, he actually kicked out those ministers who made some sort of derogatory comments about Prime Minister Modi and India in turn.
Well, Muizzu's government is actually battling at the home turf as well, because as we said that it's not the sentiment of entire Maldivian population of about 600,000 people who are anti-India, because until few weeks ago they had India and Maldives had a very cordial relationship, both at the government to government level and both at the people to people level. So ever since those three ministers had made those disparagingly and those contentious remarks against Prime Minister Modi, against India, against Indians living conditions, uh, the pressure was mounting high on President Muizzu as to how embarrassing these sentiments have become. We have seen all the tourism industry, boating industry, and different aspect of hospitality industry coming out in support of Indian tourists and condemning and shaming those ministers that they are doing bad to the Maldives, they are doing bad to the economy of Maldives, or probably that was one of the mounting pressure that forced Muizzu to remove all those ministers. And later on, we got to know that these ministers have been removed permanently. However, we do see these ministers actively participating in their activities in the pro-government programs across the island. So maybe that was an eyewash thing that Muizzu tried to do in order to calm down the raging sentiment in India and all the social media backlash that he had seen in India. But the reality is that his politics remains very much intact, very much based upon anti-India sentiment, and it has become more. It has got a fresh fresh support from ever since he has visited Chinese mainland, and he has got all those 5 days grand welcome
Right.
and all the assurances from the Chinese companies to help and support Maldivian economy.
Right, Abhishek, we'll request you to stay with us because as you mentioned that there is some sort of a pressure that is going to be escalated over the kind of statements that have been made from Muizzu's side towards India. We have some exclusive inputs coming in. This is CNN News 18's mega exclusive. We are learning that the fireworks are already there and we are learning that it is under pressure that Muizzu is actually managing domestic constituency. Top government sources have told CNN News 18 that Muizzu is under tremendous pressure from local businesses and individual business houses after the statements from their ministers. Second visible pressure is, of course, the loss of mayor seat of Muizzu's party and victory of pro-India Maldives Democratic Party from Malé, the same seat where Muizzu was previously a mayor. Mostly tourism business has taken a serious hit, which is not a hidden fact. It is controlled by few individuals who are controlling tourism, other businesses and politics of Maldives. This particular move of Muizzu government is seen as the attack on their own businesses and political opportunity on the other hand. Abhishek continues to stay with us on the broadcast. Abhishek, as I said before, it is not a hidden fact that their tourism sector has taken a serious hit. Now the businesses and the business owners are actually very upset with the kind of statements and the tension that are escalating between the two nations. Your word on it.
That was clearly one of the pressure factor that helped, Muizzu to, that forced, in fact, Muizzu to remove all those three ministers. But now we have seen his comment yesterday also, where he has clearly said that Chinese government or Chinese companies have assured them that they are going to double the number of Chinese tourists visiting this nation in the next 2 years. And that is a huge assurance coming from the Chinese side, because that would mean eventually that the gap of Indian tourism, Indian tourists, cancelling on Maldives will be broadly filled by the incoming number of tourists from the Chinese side. Whether this will be a possibility, that we'll have to see. But for now, those assurances has come from the Chinese side. Also, the kind of money on the infrastructure development project that these companies are interested in, that also gives Muizzu government a lot of confidence that he will be able to sail through the crisis that is developing between India and Maldives bilateral relationship. About 30,000 social housing project is something that the Chinese companies have assured that they are going to develop. Then major connectivity project between several islands are also that is on the agenda. Health, fisheries, food processing, blue economy development, digital economy. These are every aspect. About 20 memorandum of understanding was signed when Muizzu was in China between Maldives and Chinese companies and Chinese government. So that is clearly a huge signal that China is all out there to ensure that all the sourness that India and Maldives relationship is now developing is encashed upon politically and strategically. Whether Muizzu government will be able to sail through this entire process, that remains to be seen. But we do know that Indian government is not keen on removing or withdrawing all its military personnel right away from Maldives, as proposed by the Maldivian government, because the statements by the Indian Ministry of External Affairs also says that they are working around how to make them more useful for the Maldivian people. Those emergency and those assets which are there to assist people of Maldives, while Maldivian government has clearly mentioned that they did discuss about the withdrawal of Indian troops from the island nation. So there is a clear conflict of statements between the two sides, and it looks like Maldivian side has been very aggressive and very strongly pitching its demand that Indian military troops be removed. India would not like it to happen as soon as Maldivian side has urged, and there must be some back channel diplomacy that would be going on before any concrete announcement is made from Indian side also on the removal of these withdrawal or the withdrawal of these troops from the island nation.
Definitely, Abhishek, and this is extremely, extremely crucial. Let me repeat it for our viewers that March 15th has been set as the deadline for the removal of the Indian personnel on Maldives set by the Muizzu's government. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for bringing us all those crucial details. We'll keep coming back to you for more developments on this particular story as and when they arrive.